call to order the August 15th Batavia Park District Board of Commissioners regular board meeting at 7 o'clock. Please call the roll.
Larson.
Here.
Bell.
Here.
Tillman.
Here.
Gray.
Here.
Callahan.
Here. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Any items to be added, removed, or changed on the agenda?
There are none.
Excellent. So then I would entertain a motion to establish the consent agenda as follows. Approval of the meeting minutes of the regular board meeting of July 18th. Approval of the paid expenditures, approval of the expense approval report, approval of the investment summary, approval of the income statement, approval of purchases, and approval of ordinance number 412, surplus property.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Tillman, second by Gray. Any further discussion? Then you please call the roll.
Tillman.
Aye.
Gray.
Aye.
Larson.
Aye.
Bell.
Aye.
Callahan.
Aye, motion carries. I entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as established.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Tillman, second by Gray. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Next on the agenda is guest matters from the public. No one wishing to address us tonight. We're moving on to matters from the commissioners. Any public comments the commissioners would like to make this evening?
I'd like to make a comment about the Sensation summer camp program that just finished. My daughter participated in most of it, and it was just fabulous this year. She really enjoyed herself, and her friends who come from out of the district who have been doing it the last 2 years with her because how much she likes it, and it was just really well done. And really want to give you guys a kudos for that.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Excellent. Love that.
I'd like to say that I visited the Depot Museum, the new exhibit about, yeah, so I did it.
Yeah.
The background of the Batavia elementary schools. It was really cool. And I'm not a Batavian, but I've lived here long enough, I kind of feel like one. So it was very well done. So kudos to Kate and is it Melissa? Jessica, okay. They did a great job. It was so, yeah, go see it if you haven't. Very good.
Great, thank you. Anyone else? Thank you for those comments. Next item on the agenda is Batavia Parks Foundation report.
Hello, everyone. So a couple things going on in the Parks Foundation. So I wanted to start with the Peace on Earth sign construction update. Unfortunately, there is a slight setback. There is an aluminum shortage, and so we are seeing just a little delay in that. So the anticipated ribbon cutting on September 21st is most likely to be delayed. We're still fingers crossed that it will happen, but right now we are planning on it being delayed. We'll know more on September 1st. This last weekend we hosted a successful pickleball tournament. We were thrilled. We had tremendous support with 24 participants, a day full of super fun activities, and then also concluding across the street at Gammon Coach House, where we had awards and all of that stuff. So it was just a really great testament to the Parks Foundation and the Park District working together on creating a really great event for our community. And then upcoming events. So the Peace Day celebration is still going on. So that is September 21st from 4 to 7:30. We have a number of other community nonprofits joining us that evening to do a plethora of different activities that Britta McKenna has been putting together, and are just really bringing our sense of community together in a time when we don't have our Peace Bridge up, and we'll be keeping that going. And then we also have our save the date it's our Fox River Day, so we're continuing with the fall Pitch in the Parks, and that is on September 16th from 9 to noon. We anticipate the morning of, a bunch of community coming out at Glenwood Park, which is not in the Batavia Park District, but it is part of the Parks Foundation's projects. And then we'll be popping up at the Pints by the Pond, and which, you all know a lot of the details on that, but we'll be, sorry, I lost my place in my notes. We will be doing our lively bag toss as well as just having a fun-filled gathering there as well. And then our last kind of update is the Parks Foundation does have a board opening. We are currently looking for a new member to join the foundation. So if anyone has anyone that they would like to bring forth, just let myself or Britta McKenna know. And that is the Parks Foundation right now.
Thank you so much. Appreciate the update. Okay, next item on the agenda is correspondence. So we had a letter from Distinguished Agency Accreditation Mentor Rita Fletcher from the Batavia Park District to the Accreditation Board confirming our intent and readiness to move forward with our reaccreditation process. And we also received some lovely handmade thank you notes from
Visual aid.
for the use of the lodge, formerly known as.
Yeah. I loved it when I turned it to the lodge. It was so cute, the sign and everything.
All right, and next we have announcements.
Okay. Katie Bridges, you're up to bat. Should I just sit here? Okay, so registration is open for all of our fall programs and events for residents and non-residents. The fall program guide is available online at bataviaparks.org. We offer a great variety of seasonal events, athletic programs, fitness classes, drama and dance classes, trips, and adult programming. So if you're looking for something to do this fall, check out the Park District. Kayak and paddle boat rentals at the Batavia Riverwalk are now available only on weekends from August 19th through the 24th, so it's weekends only, from 1 o'clock to 6 o'clock p.m. Rentals are available on Labor Day, that's September 4th, from 11 a.m. to 4 o'clock p.m. Batavia Park District is looking for volunteers to participate in a Nightmare on West Main on October 12th and October 20th. This is a great opportunity for people looking for volunteer hours for schools, or if they just enjoy wearing makeup and having a great time. If you are interested in volunteering, or if you know someone who needs volunteer hours for the new school year, please email bethanng@bataviaparks.org. So that's BETHANEG@bataviaparks.org. I was like, Beth Ann. Yes. Kind of new, if you're looking for an excellent after school, kind of along that same vein, after school position, we are hiring for our before and after school care for kids club counselors. This is an excellent opportunity for 16-year-olds because it aligns easily with school. So if you're interested in looking for an afternoon job that does not have any weekend hours, you'll go to our Get Involved tab on the BataviaParks.org and look under Employment. And then my final announcement is say cheers to the special event, save the date for the Pints by the Pond event on September 23rd. It is our outdoor craft beer festival, and it is a ticketed event. It sold out last year, and we are going strong with ticket sales. So if you're interested in enjoying some local craft beer, I highly recommend that you purchase your tickets now at bataviaparks.org. It is a 3-hour beer tasting, and right now we have 12 local brewers and 2 food options. That's
Thank
it.
you. Well done. All right, next on the agenda is staff reports.
All right, so I'm going to tee it up for Director of Finance, Brent Strum.
The fiscal year 2024 budget process is underway. The projections for 2023 and the 2024 budget requests are due at the end of August. And then we'll have individual department meetings around the middle of September. And I also wanted to mention that our cyber insurance coverage, so currently it's a blanket policy that covers all Paderma property casualty members, and the expectation was that we were going to have to submit individual applications or to continue that cyber insurance coverage, as opposed to a blanket policy that covers all Paderma members. So by having to submit an individual application, we would have had to have shown that we're meeting certain security measures and that we had in place to qualify for the coverage. So Paderma actually ended up not requiring that additional application, so we're still covered under the blanket policy. But we are well positioned and we are ready to submit for that application if we needed to, and should it be required in next year or in the future, I think we'll be well positioned to maintain that coverage.
Thank you for saying that. I was going to ask, even though they didn't require it, are we going through that checklist and making sure that
Yes.
everything they would have asked we were already doing? And, you know, not necessarily just for that, but just to make sure.
Yes.
So thanks for saying that we're ready anyway. So.
We try to anticipate board
Yeah,
questions.
right. Thank you for that.
All right, next up, Director of Facilities and Trades, Josh Wine.
Yeah, so we had a very productive kickoff meeting for our Corey master plan with Williams Architect, Leon Younger, and staff from the leadership team here. We went down with Corey, did a nice walkthrough. It sounds like it's going to be about a 5-month process. And we went over different ideas for programming, possibilities for new buildings down there, different structures, how we can utilize the Corey year-round. So brainstorming a bunch of ideas. So I thought it was a very productive meeting, and yeah, looking forward to getting that moving and going forward. So.
One little sneak peek, just an idea that's floating around.
I was going to say, tell me the one that was most interesting.
So here's just one idea, and that is to make it a year-round facility, talking about making a lazy river around the quarry, and then in the wintertime, making that an ice skating ribbon.
Oh.
So with a concrete bottom, but so not actually part of the sand bottom, but outside of the actual. So that's just one exciting idea that we're floating around.
Absolutely. Yeah, so next week we'll be getting the Civic Center gym floor refinished. So we plan on doing that every 3 years to keep up with the maintenance of that, so we can stretch out the longevity of that floor as long as we can. And BATV will be transitioning to the lower level of the Civic Center here shortly. Hopefully this coming couple weeks. So for football season, hopefully, as we start the remediation and construction of Callahan Community Center. So
Once again, you anticipated. Thank you for putting in here that they're getting their own cable.
yes,
Yes.
Thank you for that.
absolutely.
Those of your BATV are listening.
All of my questions are being answered.
Yes.
We do dress rehearsal after this.
It's like they know you.
Right. Yeah, it's like I've been here before.
He said that a few times.
We get it.
Yeah. That's all I got.
All right, next up, Director of Parks, Kim Hansen.
We've been working with the Eagle Scout project for the last few months, and it just completed on this past Saturday at Hawks Bluff. Owen Stahl has been working to build 12 butterfly houses, and they installed them all with a group of other Eagle troop, with an Eagle troop. And on Saturday, everything went well. The weather was good. We got pictures. He will be coming, not this next month, but possibly the month after, to give a presentation on it.
Great.
So yeah, it went really well. And then we've been working on an environmental report card for distinguished agency accreditation, and I'll be talking about that in a few minutes later on. And then lastly is West Main break-ins that we've been having the last year or two. There's been a few here and there, smash and grabs out of the cars in the parking lot in daylight. So we've been working with the Sheriff's Department, Paderma, and Allison, Lynn, and I on what we can do and to stop these. And the Sheriff's Department has been working with us on installing cameras. getting them installed, and I just got an email back this last day or two that said they're gonna work on installing them on August 28th. So it's finally come to fruition, so I'm pretty excited to get them out in the parks.
And these will be mobile. There'll be mobile cameras that the sheriff's office will be able to move to different locations, and then we won't announce where those locations are. We won't put signage of where those cameras are.
So it's like candid cameras.
Do you know where they're going to be high? Are they going to be?
They're doing a site survey, they call it. They were doing one tomorrow, a site survey, to see where would be the best place to put them. So I don't know yet.
So.
And we may not publicly announce where they're at.
I know, I get that, but that's part of the problem, is that if nobody knows they're there, they're still going to do it. And I understand that they're trying to catch them. But if we had some other sort of deterrent to say, hey, guess what, there's video surveillance.
You can put signs up.
Then that helps with the average thief is not going to go in there if they think there's video. A professional, that's different.
Right.
But the average person who's just doing smash and grabs will go, you know what, it's not worth it, I'm going to go someplace else. And so, this is just me talking. I think that if there's cameras, we should put up signs. If there's not cameras, I don't think we should put up any signs at all. But, because if they're on a pole up high, yes, we'll be able to see what they're doing, but will we have that granularity to see who they are to catch them?
They called them, it's what they use, and they call them license plates readers and cameras.
Okay.
So they're good enough to read the license plates, I guess.
And the King County Sheriff's Office has asked us not to place signs.
They've been specific about
Because they want to catch them.
Yeah, but I have a lot of experience in this space. The level of resolution and all of it, yeah, I do. The level of resolution on these cameras is crazy good. And the announcement that there is a camera means that they typically will disguise themselves. So you want to try to limit the exposure so that the camera sits there so they can actually get somebody who doesn't realize there's a camera and they're exposed. They don't put a hoodie over their head or wear a mask and those kind of things. So if you don't have cameras, I completely agree with you. You shouldn't put up a sign that you do have cameras if you don't have cameras, those kind of things. But I think we need to take the sheriff's lead on this, at least through to see if they can actually create something out here that actually provides some gotchas, because you need a few gotchas to stop it from happening. It's just so doggone remote out there. I mean, there's nobody
It is.
there.
And they've been there more, but it's county, so it's just, they got a big area.
And it's like has it gone up recently? Are they saying that there's been an increase of break-ins, or is this something like
It really became really apparent last year, was really the first year I've been contacted about it. They said they've had more than that. Nobody ever got a hold of me about that, though.
They just say it on Facebook.
I mean, is there really good?
Oh, they have
Yeah.
Yeah.
So these are happening during the day?
Sure, I never heard of
Okay.
it. Not on
There's
your
no
page, on a
Facebook
different
on,
page.
No, I didn't know if it was, I didn't know if it was
Exactly.
night games or whatever, that they're
Things
doing in the
to
parking
about
lot or
Batavia.
something.
Once I found out about it, I contacted the sheriff.
Yeah.
And so we've been
And they're
working
locking
on
their
it since
cars.
last year,
Yeah.
trying to get
But then,
Hence the
figured
smash
out.
part.
It is pretty remote out there.
It is, so they do it during the day with other cars there.
Well, mostly if you're out of park, it's because you're away from your car, right?
Yeah, but it's really crazy, because, I mean, there's other cars in the parking lot. That they could show up,
It's a
those
busy
people
park.
could show up, it's busy, those people could show up anytime.
And Ken and I have to give credit to the King County Sheriff's Office, because
Yeah.
we've been working directly with Ron Hain, the sheriff. And he's given us, like, even his deputy
Yep.
and his executive assistant to work with, and they've been fantastic.
Yes.
And they've been very responsive. They've
That's
stayed on top of it.
Yep.
It's really impressive.
Okay.
So we hope that we can get some resolutions to this soon.
Yes, yes, so, that's all I have.
Thank you.
All right, next up, the one who's got the most creative job title, Director of Talent and Culture, Lynn Borman.
Envy of all. So working with staff for the end of season evaluations and voluntary resignation forms, offboarding the staff, seasonal staff. We had a great season for both Corey and camp. Also a lot of training in August and September. Some of it's for DA, some of it's just to keep us compliant. But one of the things we're pretty excited about announcing is the Batavia Police Department is working with us, and they'll be coming in to do active shooter training with our New Horizons staff, as well as our front office and the safety committee. So we're happy to have that relationship and have them be able to do that for us and get our staff to feel more secure at work. And then we're also doing part 2 of the in-house training, finishing up part 1, and then part 2 is more of the FMLA, ethics training, Identity Process Act, and use of facilities. So we're doing that policy update training.
Great.
Thanks, Lynn. And next up, the person who's doing the majority of the offboarding with Lynn,
Yeah.
the Director of Community Recreation, Brittany Meyer.
Awesome, thank you. We had a really great Camp Sensational and Quarry season, so I want to just thank Beth Ann and Julie for their hard work this summer, and all the staff that help at the quarry. It's a whole team effort, so thank you guys. And congrats to the lifeguards and managers. We ended the season with a 4-star audit by StarGuard, which is a really great score. Safety is our #1 priority, so kudos to them, so I appreciate that. I've been working on going through rec track data, and I wanted to share kind of a little bit of snippet with that. This data is from January through June, excuse me, and as of June, we have 10,744 registrations. In the whole year of 2022, we had 11,635. So we are doing great, and we still have a little bit of fall and winter registration put into that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
For the bounce back queen.
Yeah.
And last but certainly not least, it's our Director of Creative Engagement, or Creative Development and Community Engagement, Katie Burgess.
Thank you. So I just want to give you an update. All of you were invited. Our volunteer appreciation event this past Wednesday was very successful. We had poor weather, but we had probably around 30 different families and people attend. They were very, very excited, very, very appreciative of the Park District holding this family event for them. We are planning on holding another one next year and look forward to having everyone else show up, and then all of our other participants. This was for volunteers who worked in the fall of last year all the way through the summer of this year. We sent out a lot of invitations, and so we're just very, very happy with the turnout. And then tomorrow is our final River Rhapsody concert down at the Riverwalk. And we are throwing a very special themed party. We're doing a Malibu beach party. So come wearing pink or wear your Hawaiian tropical outfits. We are having some special beverages. Brittany was able to have some margaritas coming
Malibu
down.
Barbie theme.
Yes.
Barbie and Ken.
Yeah.
There's gonna be some energy down there.
Yes, there'll be some Kenergy. It'll be a lot of fun. Johnny Rustler and the Beach Bum Band are the entertainment. So we really like everyone to come down for our final concert this summer.
Yeah.
How do you follow that?
Right, yeah.
Can I go in order? I forgot to say thank you at the beginning. Thank you. I wanted to say thank you to the Park District for registering me to go attend that Zoom meeting with Scott Tillema, the FBI negotiator. I found it really interesting. I don't know if any of you guys were in there.
Yeah, the rec team.
Yeah, it was really good.
But I just got back from a 2-week driving family vacation with about 30 of my family members, and I was able to use the box breathing technique. So it came in really handy. My daughter, who's 10, was listening to the seminar when I was in it, and every once in a while she'd be like, use the box breathing. So thank you. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, he's great. We might be bringing him back for a training for all staff, and if the board would be interested,
Yeah.
certainly bring one.
Yeah, he was really
Former
good.
FBI negotiator,
Yeah.
hostage negotiator.
Okay.
So, in other words, you're saying that when she was with her family with 30 people,
Yes.
it was like a hostage. She was the hostage. I get it. Okay, now I understand.
It was a lot.
All right. Executive Director's Report.
We're up to a great start.
How do you follow that?
All right. All right, children. So I have a great unveiling of a logo that you've not seen yet. Actually, it's not been made public yet until now. staff, Gail Kubota, our graphic design specialist, is extraordinary, and she's been working with the New Horizons preschool teachers, Brittany Meyer, Lori McDonald, and even myself in the gap before we were lucky enough to find Katie. We spent a lot of time working with the teachers to find out the essence of the program, how to rebrand it, what that logo should look like, and color schemes, feelings, thoughts. And as you know, like, the preschool is near and dear to every one of their hearts. And so I'm really proud of what staff landed on, and Katie is here to present it as well. Because this is truly, I think, it captures the philosophy of the program, which is around play, education, and without further ado, ta-da! So we do have a lot of elements of art, discovery, music, which the playground outside of the New Horizons Preschool Center has music elements like the xylophone, there are drums outside, and of course there's always story time. So those were the 4 key themes that we felt encompassed play, and that's what really with New Horizons Preschool, play, learn, and grow. So the theme and the tagline was also created as part of this. Every single teacher fell in love with this logo, fell in love with Gail. To know Gail is to love Gail. And everything that we've heard from staff, that everybody's just beaming with pride, and we can't wait to get this out to the parents and have them be a part of it, get fresh attire for the preschool parents, for the teachers, name tags, you name it, we're all over it. So I'm excited to bring this to you.
That's great. It's cute, yeah.
It's been a long time coming.
Yeah. I was going to say, it's been a real long time.
Does anyone have one to remind me what the old one looked like? I can't even, my kids can go to New Horizons.
It's like little people.
Yeah, it's
It's really old.
There's like a hill.
Yes. That's right.
Yeah,
the
sun.
It's like the horizon and the golden hands.
Yeah, like a little gingerbread man.
Yeah.
Cut out. Yeah, that's
That's
it.
what I take it, nobody really liked that one anymore.
Well, I think it's probably been around.
It should
That's-
have.
It's not
pretty good.
It's
No,
my
I
daughter
like
was
this
there,
one.
but it's time.
Yeah.
Sure.
It's over the horizon now.
Yeah.
We've actually talked about
It's an old horizon.
We've actually talked about what to do with old banners for things like old logos like that. And one of the ideas that staff came up with is make a little, find a nice hill on one of our parks and put a little water, put a hose down it and water slide in the summertime.
You gotta keep some of it for like an old banner room, like in the basement.
Yeah, like a quilt.
Yeah,
Like a quilt or something.
Yeah.
Like a t-shirt quilt.
Yeah.
Place.
Yep. So we're not sure if the bonfire would be an appropriate way.
Oh,
Oh.
well,
May
that's,
not
that's more
be
fun.
appropriate.
That might be a little
Yeah, we'll keep it, you know,
yeah.
shoot some letters. Oh, wait. I went too fast. Okay, next up, we did talk about the Depot Museum.
Oh, yeah.
We have 2 new fall exhibits featuring the stories behind why the Batavia schools are named what they are. And there's also one exhibit, hilarious exhibit, dedicated to hairstyles from Batavia High School yearbooks.
Oh.
It's really good.
It's so good. So it's the best of, and each hairstyle has its own name. I mean, it's from every decade, and it's fantastic. So if you're in for a treat. So thank you, Commissioner Gray, for attending the preview, and yeah, I highly recommend it because there's so much Bulldog pride, and it was so cool. There were actually some school board members that came as well for the opening night, and it was just great to see even the mascot, the first mascot costume up here.
Okay, now look at that. What do you think that's from? Like, what's your guess?
The mascot?
Yeah. It's kind of ratty. Like, it's kind of like aged.
60s?
Yeah, more like the 90s. I was like, is this from like 40s or 50s? No, Julian Sullivan.
It looks like a 90s bulldog.
Yeah.
Did she?
Yeah, you told me that.
Oh, I knew that one. I knew that at one point.
It's much newer than
I just got back from Arizona.
Well,
Oh, he's kind of creepy.
The problem also is the 90s is actually a lot longer ago than we.
You're right, Connie.
Yeah.
You're right.
Well, the 90s was just 10 years ago.
That is 30 years ago. Okay.
35 years ago.
And ironically,
It's
the
very cool.
father of the son, who was the first person to wear this costume, was there during the opening too. So
interesting.
he was really proud to walk around and let
Very
everybody know that, like, my son was the first person to wear this costume. So lo and behold, I told Kate Garrett, our museum director, I told her that we should save our Chuck the Duck costume, our original, back when I was in the marketing department, just so that way someday we could have a mascot.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yes.
Put in the archives.
I agree with that.
Depot Museum Storage.
There you go. Yep. All right. And then, as Kim alluded to, we have pictures of Owen Stahl here. Owen is an Eagle Scout who has created 12 butterfly houses for Hawks Bluff. So it's such a beautiful area, and you know, we're going to try to see if we can snag him and get him in here to one of the park board meetings so you can meet him personally and thank him. But it's great. It's a great initiative. It really kind of captures what we're trying to do in all of our parks. We have Clark Island, we're going to have a butterfly garden. The Parks Foundation has talked about a butterfly garden with us. So butterfly houses are a part of that. I'm trying to bring more butterflies to Batavia. Customer Appreciation Day. So we had snacks and treats and drawings for $25 gift cards. I want to give kudos to the Customer Service Committee, co-chaired by Brent Strumpf and Katie Burgess. They lead a committee that tries to think of creative ways to thank our customers, to better serve our customers, whether it's mystery shopping, whether it's you know, events like this that can draw people in. So anybody that registered for a program that particular day, they walked away with plenty of food and drink and prizes.
Very cool.
And then Pat read the letter from Rita Fletcher from Bartlett Park District, and she's advancing us into the evaluation review for distinguished accreditation. It's staff, I want to thank you so much. You've worked so incredibly hard for this moment. And Lindsay Williams, my executive assistant, she just blows it out of the water every day. She's like a goddess with Adobe PDFs and slicing and dicing and uploading for all of us, but there's been so much content to review throughout. Since 2019, the Park Board's been helping us with policies to get us up to snuff. This will keep our districts making sure we do best practices, stay on top of it, that we are really just making sure that we're following the checklist of only the top 10% park districts in the state of Illinois. Not everyone's a distinguished accredited agency. And so when the review team comes, they're going to come sometime at the end of October, and they're actually going to review our Power DMS, which is online, what Lindsay's been working on. Staff has been uploading things. I've been reviewing things around the clock, and then going back to staff if we have changes to make. Tonight you're going to see the environmental report card, which is a part of it, the ADA transition plan update. It's just a really cool process to see it come to fruition, because this is, we're finally getting to see the fruits of our efforts. We've been working on this for years because it was derailed by 2020. And you have a certain amount of time to get things done. So we've been going back to the drawing board. As you know, we've had turnover of staff, so it's been a labor of love. The process itself is rather inexpensive. So IPRA and IAPD aren't doing this for the money. But at the end, if we do get accredited, when we do get accredited, our agency will be recognized at the IAPD IPRA State Conference and brought on stage to take a picture.
Thanks.
Is there like only a certain amount of park districts like in the state that can have it, or is it?
So any park district can apply for accreditation, but not all that do actually receive it.
There's a lot of work.
A lot of, yeah.
Tons.
I didn't know if they're like, we only take 10.
Well, and so we are an accredited, or a distinguished agency. Our accreditation is coming up, so we have to reapply. But every time there's a new cycle, even if it's 1 year later, there's hundreds of new requirements, new policies, new updates, and so you literally have to turn the place upside down, go through, comb through everything, add stuff you don't have, take away stuff that you didn't need, but then augment stuff you already have so that it's more enhanced. So there's a whole series of things. So it takes a long time, and I really appreciate staff doing it.
And looking at the leadership team, with the exception of Brittany Meyer, who was promoted in 2019, every single person on the leadership team is new to their role since 2021. So they've had to pick up where their predecessors left off and learn the ropes for that area and really try to figure it out to get back on the page or to start a fresh page altogether. And so it's been a lot of work, and that's why I'm so proud of them.
Well done.
Awesome.
And this was in Kim's report as well. So Barco Products, based here in Batavia, called and said, you know, we'd like to do a photo shoot at the Hall-Corey Beach. And when Brittany gave them the price, like, because we do private rentals, she gave them the price, they balked and said, oh my gosh, you know, can we do a trade? Oh, well, we love trades. So I said to Brittany, I'm like, ask Josh and Kim, they can spend like no other.
Any chance?
Felt like a high five moment.
I said, I guarantee they'll find something, and sure enough. And then, you know, Kim's the chair of the Green Committee, and she found this water bottle refilling station, and she and Josh agreed, and they came forward and they asked me, can we put this at the Riverwalk? And it won't be purple. So it'll be black. It'll be black. But what's really cool, for all of you dog lovers, there is a little fountain for the dogs.
Like the one of Big Woods we have?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Dogs
love it.
outside photos, you know,
Oh,
like that.
And finally, a fountain at the Riverwalk that won't have a bunch of bubbles in it.
They won't.
I gotta say, I don't hate the purple, but one of the Batavian Park District colors would be good.
Yeah.
Like the green, I would love it if we could do things in the green. But black is good.
So actually, I intentionally, because I wasn't sure who might bring it up, so I intentionally put up the color scheme at the bottom. So the green isn't necessarily the Park District green, that's all.
Oh, it's not, yeah.
No.
I like the black. I'm glad you have that picture, because I was wondering what it looked like when I was reading about it. I was like, what is, I don't know what
Oh,
that
wow,
looks like.
I think we have a tic-tac-toe with you.
I know, you're knocking them all the
Is
way
Big
across.
Woods the only one that has one?
With a bowl?
Yeah, with the dog bowl thing.
Yeah, so I think that's the only one that has.
Lucky.
We haven't had to replace one in a long time. When they get replaced, they'll be replaced with a bowl, but.
Yeah, nice. I love it.
All right. And then last but not least, we've got 2 commissioners celebrating years of service. So I'd like to recognize Pat Callahan for 25 years. And John Newman for 15 years.
15 years.
So this year marks these big anniversary dates. And talking to Katie Burgess, we saw that the IAPD has a banquet awards coming up to acknowledge commissioners that for these big years of service. As you know, those of you at home, being in public service is not for wimps. It is a lot of hard work. It's volunteer only. Our commissioners do not get paid. There is a lot of work reading the board packets, doing their homework, talking to people in the community, answering all the questions, making sure that all of us as staff are on track with their vision. And so if the 2 of you would like to, we, the Park District, the staff would like to invite you to, I want to say it's a ball, it's a gala.
It's a gala. Oh.
It's a gala. The date.
Is this a senior prom?
You know what? Really? Okay. This is, you see what I have to sit next to?
We're going on like year 10 together over here, sorry.
It's November 12th.
November 12th? So you have time to think it over, but you're more than, you were invited for November 12th.
Thank you.
And just let us know as soon as you can.
It's in,
It's actually Wheeling,
Yeah.
in Wheeling at the
I saw the
Chevy
email, I got the
Chase.
email for it.
Oh, it's a Sunday,
Chevy Chase
It's a Sunday?
Country Club,
right?
owned by
Sunday.
Wheeling Park District. Is that a Sunday?
It's a
I thought it was the Thursday
November
night.
12th?
It's usually a Thursday, but that's what the
November
website
12th.
says.
I'm looking at November 12th. That's-
2023?
Yep. Thursday is the 9th, so.
I'll get back to you on that.
Yeah.
The
I'll
park
put it in.
board vice president.
Oh, yeah.
I noticed that.
Yeah, I saw that. I did notice it. Thank you for that, by the way.
Allison, the other part of their website says it's actually 10/20, October 20th. So they have 2 different dates.
Okay,
That's fun.
That's a Friday.
Crazy.
So we'll let you know.
Well, either way, we will send you the proper date. You're invited. And congratulations.
Thank you.
And that's a wrap.
Excellent.
Awesome.
All right. No old business, so we'll move on to new business 14A. So this is our opportunity to publicly adopt by consensus the redevelopment plans based on the River Corridor Master Plan. The city of Batavia adopted Concept B at their meeting like 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Last week.
Or last week. And Allison and I chatted, and I just thought it was important because this is a public meeting, and I just thought it was better to do it this way than to try to do it via email or some vote by email to ratify it and have everybody get an opportunity to speak and vote their preference this evening. So with that, I would entertain a motion to approve resolution number 297 supporting Concept B for the configuration of the Fox River and the Depot Pond in the event of removal of the depot or of the Batavia Dam.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Tillman, second by Gray. Any discussion?
I think it's important to say that just because we've agreed, this is what we think would be the best option, and the city has come to a consensus, doesn't mean that that's necessarily what's going to happen, right? And I think you wrote that in here, where it's, the state has the final, the IDNR has the final say on what will happen. So I just think that's important to know that, like, we're not saying, like, this is happening next year. It's a long process, and it's not even close to anything final. So I don't know, I feel like the public was kind of, that wasn't clear in some of the communications and social media posts that were out there. So while we all agree that this is what we think would be the best option, it's really out of our hands until the state comes in and tells us what can be done and when and all that. So just wanted to say that.
I think coming to an agreement was a major step, though, in the right direction.
Oh, yeah.
Sure.
It was
Absolutely.
huge. I think
Correct.
this was a long time coming. My patience was limited, but now we're already, all the people who've been involved in it for a really long time, so I think it's a really exciting step. But yes, you're absolutely right. When I saw it on social media at first, it made it sound like by next summer we're going to be cutting.
Right.
So,
And for the record, this is the one that we had decided
Yes.
on first before the city
Oh, 'cause
got.
I didn't
We're not
know.
just agreeing with the city, just to agree with the city. This is the one that we actually
Right.
told the city about. We
Yep.
also wanted the city
During the
to come
council of
first.
whole meeting,
Correct.
the straw first.
Correct.
So, I guess I'll make a few comments before we take the roll. So, I think it's important to understand that it's very difficult to get two public bodies to agree on a direction. I think the unknown is what the community had some anxiety about, and what happens with the dam is a collaborative effort between the local jurisdiction and IDNR. So ultimately, whatever we say is the concept is just that. There's a lot of design work, there's a lot of engineering that has to go into kind of its final form. But I think getting the Park District at our joint meeting to at least have a consensus on this concept, and then ultimately the City Council adopting that concept, and us tonight just ratifying where we were back then, I think is important. And I think it's important to the community that we give some direction, clarity. I think the reason we sit in these chairs is because you all have elected us to represent you, and we think that it's important for us to represent our values. And the value of the Park District is to maintain open space, provide a recreation opportunity for the community at large, and also to enhance our downtown. Part of the history of Batavia is the evolution of what's happened in the Riverwalk. Years ago it was an industrial area. No one, went down there unless they had business to do. And with the removal of the second bridge and the infill and downtown development and then the Riverwalk, et cetera, this is the next logical thing that we have to contend with. And so I think as a result from today's vote, I think the board should direct staff to begin to build an inventory or at least concepts on how implementation of Concept B would work, what it would look like. Do we need to engage consultants? Should we have preliminary ideas developed? Should we have preliminary engineering done? Only to be prepared for the inevitable question is, okay, great, you guys made this decision, but somebody's got to pay to have it done, and the state's only paying to remove it. So we want to continue the momentum that we built, and this is a big deal. I mean, 25 years I've sat in this chair, but I think we've started talking about this within a year of me sitting on this board. And it's just kind of gone back and forth for good reason, because it is a big decision. And it's a big impact. We're a river town, and there's no way around it. I understand both sides of the argument, the health of the river, and we certainly want to be good stewards of that, but also, you can't cut your nose off to spite your face, because it is part of the fabric of this community. And so, anyway, those are the things that I want to say this evening. So with that, if we have no other discussion, Lindsay, please call the roll.
Tillman.
Aye.
Gray. Aye. Larson.
Aye.
Bell.
Aye.
Callahan.
Aye, motion carries. Thank you all. Excellent. Next item on the agenda is 14B. So you guys want to go through this first, and then we'll do the motion after.
Yeah. Sure. So, we can go ahead and go into the first slide. Like Allison said, I am the chair of the Green Committee, so I was given the task of completing the environmental report card for our DA accreditation, and with the help of all the departments, because it really entails all the departments. I went through and I completed it. The report card is, well, you guys have a copy, it's a 16-page report, lots of questions, and that pertain to each facet of the entire park district. So it was pretty interesting. I've helped out with this before in the past, but I've not been in charge of completing it. So to see it all put together is pretty interesting to me. So it's a self-assessment. So it's going to be used to help us improve in certain areas in the district and give us action items for our Green Committee. So I was pretty excited to actually complete it. So that's fun. There were 7 categories to the whole thing. One general category, that one was pretty short, some admin and finance questions, facility management, fleet management, park and natural resource management, planning and open space preservation, and programming. A lot of them had some of the same questions, so it was interesting finding the answers to those, because some of them seemed pretty similar to me. So go ahead and go to the next slide. So I just wanted to touch base real quick on a few things that we think that came out of the report card that we're doing well, and some things that show that we can actually work on improvement. And for admin and finance, some of the things that after completing that we're doing really well with all of our policies that relate to the environment. We have the Green Committee. The budgeting part of it, we do a really good job of making sure that we have allocated the right amount, and we could always use more and do more, but there are dedicated funds for lots of different items that we, like for the capital development program, things like that. All of our projects always have environmentally friendly things in it, whether it's native landscaping, whether it's rain gardens, things like that. So we do a really good job with that. Facility management, maintenance, talking with Josh with a lot of that stuff too is, he's installed water saving devices, and we do a really good job of using and reclaiming used materials for our projects. That's probably one of the best things we do. We're really good at that. And then each year we do more and more technology to help conserve paper and other things that pertain to that. So every year we get better with that. Parks and Natural Resources, that, again, it's dedicated funds. We do a good job at dedicating funds to our contractor that takes care of our natural areas and our prescribed burns. The landscape line that I manage, we have budgeted line items that pertain to native perennials and maintaining our natural areas and things of that sort. So I feel like we do a really good job with that. We really put a focus on native landscaping. Not everything can be native. Not every single plant is native, but we do a good portion of them, and always make sure it's at least 70%. And then we also work really hard at invasive species, which can be pretty overwhelming, but I think we do a pretty good job of it. Then where do we need improvement? I think applying for grants was pretty obvious when I was filling it out that we could do more with that, and I would really like to see, and every year I work hard at seeing where we can cut back and how we can cut back. Is there any changes to the industry that will work well enough for what we use, and how we need our turf to look and handle all the activity that we get in our parks. So that's a hard thing to get and to figure out, and to have something that actually will work. But every year we're working on where we can cut back with that. And then with planning and open space preservation, an area we need work on is public awareness of our natural areas. We have some really nice areas, as you saw in the picture from Ox Bluff. We have nice areas that I think we could do a lot more with getting the public out into them, which leads into the programming section with, volunteer program. All that takes time. That could be a whole nother job in itself, really, and getting more volunteers and the volunteer program up. But for land stewardship and environmental education is a big one that we can improve on. And just working on more programs towards sustainable living would be another way we could improve. So, anybody have any questions?
I mean, I think the report card was comprehensive. I mean, I think they do a pretty good job of covering all the territory you need to cover. And I think that other park districts that have larger inventory probably can score higher.
Yeah.
So my encouragement to you is don't look at the score as the end result, because we have a lot of active parks that are used, and so there is this kind of balance between utilization for recreation purposes, passive or otherwise, and the notion of being, having this kind of green strategy. I think you all have done a great job in establishing a mindset that keeps sustainability forward. And that's not easy to do. It's not, because that's a cultural change. It's a big shift. And so I think in that regard, I think you guys are doing fantastic. So I would just want to be encouraging to you to say that I don't think the score reflects necessarily how well we do compared to others. I think you guys are doing a great job.
Thank you.
And that's why I don't think it's necessarily areas for improvement. I think it's opportunities for growth. I just, the way that's phrased, I think, because all of those things we do, right? And it's I just think that there's better opportunities for growth.
And that's, to me, it was things that I would like to see us do more of.
Right.
Was really how I looked at it.
Right, which I just think that,
Yeah.
I wanted you to write
Don't
in,
take that as a negative.
we have a greenhouse where we grow our own plants. She could add that and give
Right.
us 20 points.
Bonus points.
And she did. We
Where's the extra
are,
credit section?
yeah, like that's a good deal.
That's a good extra
But
credit.
anyway, that wasn't. Do a write-in column.
Right.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
And a copy of the environmental report card is in the board packet, and we just need the board to approve it.
Okay.
Per DA.
Any other comments or questions? So then I would entertain a motion to approve the IGRA environmental report card as presented.
Second.
Motion by Taylor, second by Gray. No further discussion? Lindsay, please call the roll.
Is that a motion by Tillman?
Tillman, second by
Okay,
Gray.
thank you. Tillman.
Aye.
Gray. Aye. Larson.
Aye.
Bell.
Aye.
Callahan.
Aye, motion carries. Next item is the 14C, which is the review of the progress of the ADA transition plan.
Yeah, so I was just going to give a quick update on the progress we've made so far on the current ADA plan, a little history maybe for Julie and Sam. So every 5 years, the Park District does an assessment on our buildings and parks to see how we can improve on our, if we have any ADA issues that we can address. So the last plan was done in 2020, so we'll look forward to 2025 as being our next ADA transition plan. In 2020, we had ACT Services come through. They did a walkthrough of all the facilities and all of the parks and created a transition plan of each one for all of the ADA issues that we had. So we use this ADA transition plan as part of our capital development plan as well. So whenever we come up with a project, we reference the ADA plan to see if there's any improvements that can be made while we're doing that project. So they're not always as part of, they're not always a capital development plan. They are some standalone items that we pull out, like the double doors at the research center at the People Museum. We took out the old doors. They were not compliant. We put in new ADA compliant doors with handicap access button. So, so now that whole lower level is now compliant and accessible. Part of the capital development plan, like Big Woods is a great example of, we did not have any paths leading to our softball fields out there. So when we redid that, that area, we added the paths to the fields themselves. So just an example of some of the things that we take care of. We do have a special recreation fund that we use to pay for a percentage of the portion of all these projects, and the percentage is based on the amount of ADA work that's being done for that project. So it varies project to project, but we are able to pull funds for that to pay for those specifically. So, and as part of the distinguished agency, the accreditation, we will be doing this annually as an update to the board. So that was something we learned through the distinguished agency. It was a bonus. Like Allison said, we learned a lot of things that we could be improving on through that. So opportunities for growth.
That's right. It's gonna be our new catchphrase. Being implemented.
Doing some wordsmithing tonight.
We're gonna add that to performance reviews. Opportunities.
Are there any questions on
our performance reviews? So.
No, I think I appreciate the detail. You know, again, I'm always cautious of just lifting the strict verbiage out of the ADA versus what you actually are required to do.
Correct.
So after having that conversation when we first started this process, I think you guys have done a good job in doing the things that have the biggest impact, not something that you're kind of creating a problem to solve when the problem exists, but if we don't do work in that area, it's not a requirement to pull the trigger to do it.
Yes.
So by having this as part of the continued work and then dragging this into it, that's a good strategy to get things accomplished.
Right.
So, great.
Excellent.
All right.
Thank you to the board for your support of being able to budget to do these things.
So next on the agenda is 14D, first reading for the discussion of video surveillance policy. So this is a new policy which we do not have. And I have one question, so I'll kick off the discussion, and that is, there's nothing in the policy that talks about FOIAs. And I realize that FOIA has its kind of own policy as to, well, let me contact the attorney to determine whether or not it's permissible to release, or can they, you know, that kind of thing. So I guess my question is, should there be some language in there, not necessarily strictly to FOIA, but some language in there that the Park District is not obligated to turn these over publicly because the way it reads, Allison has complete control over, Allison and Brent have complete control over the content, the release of it, the allowed use of it, but it doesn't speak to the public. And I just think we should have some mention in there as how it may or may not be permissible to release.
Sure, so they're on the, from what I see on page
The request for copy.
94, under request for copies.
Page 4?
I don't know why it's numbered that way.
Oh, because it's going to be in the manual.
Okay.
Request for
Cool.
copy.
Yeah.
There's a form
Or
there.
94 pages.
But I think it could be clearer, to your point.
Yeah.
It could be clear, right, it could be clear. There's that, and there's also the export, but that one specifically mentions the FOIA.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they would be subject to FOIA, typically with video of any kind under the Freedom of Information Act. It goes through the same process as any kind of record where you analyze the statutory exemptions for release, and then you can apply redactions using software to blur out confidential or private information. So generally you wouldn't release a video with someone's face or showing someone's personal license plate number or anything like that. It doesn't really apply, but yeah, generally speaking, they are releasable under FOIA as public records.
So, I mean, the reason I asked the question is, you know, every time we do something new or additional, we end up creating more work for staff, right? And I just don't want, I mean, the way this reads is like request for copies, so you can just request a copy, use FOIA to request a copy. That's really not the intent of this. The intent of this is to try to keep it as restrictive as possible, because it's only there for us to help solve something if we have a problem.
Right.
And so I don't want people to think this is like, you know, just making a request for meeting minutes or, you know, some, you know, I don't know, form that, that they want. I just think this paragraph needs to be a little tighter, a little stricter, a little clearer, so that it doesn't look like it's another vehicle to the public just simply to write a FOIA and request.
Especially like what we're talking about at West Main.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. And that's exactly what I was thinking about the storage paragraph just above that. Is that, and it says, you know, no less than, it says approximately 30 days. I know it references the Local Records Act, which I'm not really sure what that exact language is, but I'd like to see just something a little bit clearer as to how long we're going to be keeping all of these and how they will be archived. I know there's an archive section, but I just a little tighter. It just seemed pretty vague to me as far as, yeah, we're going to keep them 30 days, they'll be overwritten eventually, blah, 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 but I just think that needs to be tightened up.
Is it intentionally vague, though? I mean, sometimes it's
It may be, but I think that could be a problem, though, because it's like, to the point that if somebody requests something, we can point back and say, well, it says right here, it's gone. It's only going to be here for this number of time, not approximately, but like, doom, it's going. Because with video, you can automate it to say, after 30 days, let's say, it's gone. We don't have to do anything. Or it's archived, or whatever the thing is. So, but if it's like, well, it says approximately, so I'm at 31 days, so it should still be there. I think we need to tighten that up, just my personal.
Well, and something that we try to do as staff, and when, you know, we work with legal counsel from Durham and Ansel Gleam, sometimes too much procedure gets added into the policy, and that might be what it is, where we may have an internal procedure, but it's not mentioned in the policy, but as long as we've got the procedure that's tight, then it's not giving away our trade secret.
So the Local Records Act is referenced in here, and that is specific to exactly how long we're going to be keeping stuff, or is it just basically the same verbiage, but for video? Not, is it, well, I guess what I'm asking, does it specifically talk about video?
It states that digital data or media like video is included as a local record, but it mostly sets forth the process whereby local governments who have to retain records for a certain period of time have to apply to destroy those records in due time. I think the time limit, I will also speak to Dirk about this, because I think 30-day limit traditionally, when, and I don't know how the cameras are actually like mechanically operate, but usually it's because they start they're programmed to record over
Right.
past footage in
Right.
30 days, but if their motion sensor activated or otherwise, the calibration can be funky. Obviously, I'm not a tech person, but usually we write in, it's approximately 30 days, because if it doesn't record, if there's not enough movement to trigger the cameras enough times in 30 days, it might not record over it or something.
Well, what you said though, as far as the Records Act, does not coincide with approximately 30 days of retention.
No.
That's my concern, is that you're saying the Local Records Act says, this is how long we're going to be keeping something based on, we have to request it. But then we're saying, we may keep it, it may be 30 days, it may not be. Those things are inconsistent as far as what this verbiage is. And that's kind of what I'm thinking needs to be tightened up. If it's supposed to be just according to the Local Records Act, let's just say that. But if we're saying that, you know, it could be the Local Records Act or approximately 30 days, those two things don't go together.
One or the other.
Right, because we have strict rules as far as how long we keep records, and we're saying that digital records are fall underneath that, but then we're contradicting that by...
So make it more of a reference to policy and...
Make it reference the policy, we're already
Make them look it
referencing,
up.
right, well, we're already referencing the policy in this paragraph. Just take out all the rest and say, look at the
That would
policy.
make sense, I could kind of...
Yeah. Yeah, just take out that sentence, video surveillance systems will be designed with a targeted retention range for
Right,
personal
because if you look down further, archiving, you know, yes, we do overwrite things, but most of the time they're archived first. And you can automate all of that to say, before you start writing over something, archive it. And then what are our archive procedures? Is it going into some sort of cloud storage? Is it going into hard storage, cold storage, whatever? So that paragraph and the archive paragraph don't really go together. You can't archive something that you've deleted or overwritten.
Well, some people do written archive of it.
I get that, but when we're talking digital, it's a little different. Because that stuff just happens. Nobody's doing anything. It's not like every day Brent's going to say, well, what files do I have to archive?
No archive.
No, right. I don't want you to do that. This stuff should be set up to say, this is when this stuff is going to be overwritten, this is going to be when it's going to be archived, this is when it's going to be whatever. I just think we should, because of the fact that it does that, we should spell that out in here. So there's no ambiguity if and when somebody comes to ask us questions.
Yeah. I mean, ideally, like the first video surveillance devices that we want to install are going to be at the quarry and the bike corral area, because bikes have been stolen there.
There's a lot of stuff there.
King County Sheriff's, that's their proprietary
Mhm.
you know, surveillance devices, but this, we want to get our own, so
Right.
we're just trying to
Yeah,
get up
right.
for next year.
100%.
But I guess, to John's point, the issue is, if we're gonna do this, we're doing it for a reason.
Right.
But we don't wanna create this budget request next year, is that we need to buy 3 more servers because we are archiving,
Right.
you know, 157 hours worth of video,
Right.
because, you know,
Just in case.
the space that I work in, you know, which is police stations, there is a very strict override. You know, the camera goes on, it's on for a certain period of time, and then it overwrites. Just because storage is such a big deal, especially with the quality of cameras.
Like corporate policies are
Yeah.
insane.
So anyway, so I just,
Yeah,
so
it's expensive.
since we're putting this policy in place for the first time, we just gotta think through kind of the unintended consequences, and I just think that this conversation's been good. Anybody else have any comments? You can get them to Allison before next meeting.
Also, I did want to point out that the first page mentions the signage of the policy, that signage would be displayed.
Mhm.
Do we
Yeah.
want to leave that language in there, or based on the previous comments, it seems like?
I think we should get Batavia Police Department's input on that. I'm not saying we shouldn't. I think in our public areas where we have, if we have cameras that we put inside the building, that's one thing. Where people come in the building, I think they should be notified surveillance is on.
Right.
No different than schools do that, when we come in. But if we're doing outdoor stuff, I don't know that, people are looking for signage, especially if we're trying to ensure that we're protecting people's property that are using our parks.
I think the quarry bike corral should have a sign, because these kids are, I think that one would be, these are kids who are in their bathing suits, they're not coming in ski masks. You know,
That would-
they're crimes of convenience, and I think of that one, I mean.
And I thought that's what my original thing was
Yeah,
with the
just for that
smashing
purpose.
grabs, and I respect Pat's opinion on that, because he's right, that if it is something that they're purposely going to do something, they're gonna hide
Yeah.
themselves, but to your point, they're probably not purposely going to the quarry to steal a bike.
I mean, they might go
It's
there
an
with the intention of
opportunity.
leaving with a better bike.
Right, yeah, exactly, it's an opportunity, but
Yes.
I 100%, I mean, there's gotta be some legal thing that says when somebody walks into a building that's being recorded, that we have to tell them that they're being recorded. Yes or no, I don't know if there is,
I
but
mean,
outside, I don't think
everywhere
there
you walk,
is.
there's
Everywhere
something.
there is, but not necessarily inside,
Right.
it's different, but, so I agree, we should probably put signage up somewhere that you're gonna be recorded if you go inside, but outside, we can look into that probably.
And our former police chief was the one who actually said, even if you're not actually recording, it's okay to put signage up just to deter people. So if we can check with our
You see, that makes
our
me
current
nervous,
police chief.
because at the
There's a
same
new
time,
police chief.
I was sitting up here when we talked about that before, and I remember Dirk saying, if we have a sign that's saying there's video surveillance and something happens to somebody and there's no video surveillance, then there's issues with that. And so that's what
That's gonna be on the what's happening page.
yeah. So I think if we're gonna have signage, we should also have video and not the other way around, so.
I think another point to make about the signage is, that may differ from what the police department is going after at the park, is that we want to prevent rather than prosecute.
Mhm.
So
Absolutely.
I think,
At the quarry, yeah.
yeah.
Stuff like that.
Absolutely.
All right,
Cool.
so that's our first reading, so take that under advisement. Hopefully we'll see that next month with some revisions, and we'll see if we can make any further improvements. Thank you. So that brings us to our final item of the evening, which is our executive session. So I would entertain a motion to enter into executive session under the Illinois Open Meetings Act 2C11 to discuss pending litigation. Lindsay, please call the roll.
So moved.
Oh, motion, yeah, sorry.
Second.
Motion by Tony, second by Craig.